The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily represent those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting group. Access Fort Wayne is a department of the Allen County Public Library. If you or anyone you know might be interested in making a television show, please call 260-421-1250.
Welcome to our Mind, Body, Spirit show with Dr. Rudy Kachmann. This is going to be a very interesting show because I think the bottom line to your health really is your gut biome. Our microbiome, the gut biome revolution, that's really my show. You know, I told people, well, you are what you eat. Well, you are to a point. You are what you digest. Okay, well, you are to a point. But you actually are what your gut biome is. So what is the biome? The garden of life is what we are speaking about. What a lot of us don't know and realize today is that our health really is run by the bacteria, yes, the bacteria that live in your gut. Yeah, the viruses, fungi, and bacteria, trillions of them. That's your gut microbiome. It's mainly bacteria of about 1,000 different types, but really about 70% of them are just two different bacteria, Firmicutes and Bacteroides. But your health is determined what type of bacteria is there. So we're talking about trillions. Our own DNA, we've got 22,000 genes, but the microbiome, the bacteria, also have genes. Their DNA, 3.3 million, 100 to 1. These living bacteria, viruses, and yeast are, frankly, writing the genetic script of our body. So let's explore this a bit so you understand this. And I have some wonderful books. I'll hold them up for you later in case you want to do some additional writing, because we come from science. And these are very small, these bacteria, extremely small. If you were to visualize it, you know, try to visualize it, okay? 1 square inch on your skin has friendly staph on it. Thousands, probably 600,000 per square inch. That's the friendly staph. Your whole body is like that, okay? Visualize your whole body of these micro animals. 1,000 different species, different types. The good news is, can be bad news too, but good news that we're trying to fix a problem that we have in our health, in our gut. The lifespan of one of these bacteria, 20 minutes. 20 minutes. What does that mean? If you change the way you eat, trying to get rid of a disease and prevent a disease, it can be done quickly. It would take probably 5 to 7 days to change them completely. That smells of opportunity to get healthy, Our whole body's replaced really about 7 years. So the individual cell in your gut, which is 1 cell layer thick on the mucosa, okay? Those cells are replaced every 24 hours. Every 24 hours, yeah. Remember, our small intestines is about 20 feet. So when you go back, say, in evolution, and where we originally meat eaters, plant eaters, it takes a lot of your gut to digest plants. Ours is about 20 feet. A lion, mainly a meat eater, only has 4 feet of gut. Yeah. So what do we eat last, at least during most of evolution, plants. A gut reflects it. A gut shows it. So these bacteria determine our health. They're the ones who metabolize the proteins and the fats and the carbohydrates. They produce some of the vitamins and the minerals. They produce short-chain fatty acids. They help train the immune system. They support detoxification of some of our food. If we eat bad food, it will detoxify some of them. It helps protect us. When you think of it, we have a skin that protects the outside of our body, but our enteric system, okay, small bowel, large bowel, esophagus, they are part of the external system. That's nothing but a tube here. And these bacteria in the lining of our gut have to protect us. So as long as you're in this tube, it's like being outside your body, yeah. But once you get into the blood system, then it's inside. Or if the blood system bleeds into the gut, for example, it's outside the body. Maybe inside your gut, but really it's outside your body. So the symbiotic bacteria working together break down carbohydrates. They produce vitamins, minerals, short-chain fatty acids. They protect us against bad bacteria, help train the immune system, your immunity. Gershon wrote a book called The Second Brain, a good book to read. I mean, extremely, maybe a little bit almost too scientific, but a tremendous researcher. And he's that our gut has in it a huge number of nerves and hormones. So the enteric system, he considers it to be a second brain. It's a good 90% self-regulated. Yeah, it's not that our brain here is regulating most of your gut. It's the gut itself through hormones and enzymes and actual nerves is regulating most of this activity. I mean, it's kind of interesting. So do babies in the uterus have these bacteria? No. Matter of fact, when a child is born, it goes through the vagina, and some bacteria, like lactobacillus from the vagina, coat the infant's face, and the growth of bacteria in the gut begins. That's very important, because if you have a C-section, the child is sterile. There's no bacteria in its gut. And they introduced, with their contacts with the mother and animals in the house, for example. But they have studied children from C-sections, which 2/3 of the mothers now have a C-section, is that these children are more likely to be overweight or underweight or have cancer or type 1 diabetes, yes, because they did not pick up the enteric bacteria that a child who's born through the vagina. Hardly any mother knows that, and so I have to blame our healthcare providers, because before they have that C-section, we need to give them a little bit of education about the differences in the health of children born through the vagina and one through C-section. Obviously, sometimes a C-section is necessary because the birth canal is too small or something, but let's face it, 2/3 of the C-sections, the reasons are elective, to avoid the pain or whatever. But again, I think you need to participate in your healthcare there and learn a little bit. Breastfeeding, for example, when you're giving your child the best brain, because mother's milk is omega-3 fats, the best fats, and versus giving your child milk from cows. The milk that cows make is meant for baby cows. Yeah, read a book called Whitewash by Joe Keon. You'd have trouble drinking milk yourself or giving it to a child. Very scientific. I rarely meet anybody, including many doctors, ever read that book. It's unbelievable. And milk has tremendous effects on the gut, as well as gluten. We don't do enough gluten testing in this country because the protein in gluten, a lot of us sensitive to it, have celiac disease, or are sensitive to it. In Australia, they checked everybody for it, but we don't in this country. So if you have unexplained illness, for example, neurologic problem, always demand gluten genetic testing, gluten blood testing. So again, as I said before, we are what we eat. Sugar, corn, and soy, that affects the type of bacteria we have. No, you are what they ate. What the bacteria ate determines your health. Got to put a little humor in here, but it is actually true. Let's talk about biodiversity, the different bacteria. Remember what I said before, the Firmicutes and the bifidobacteria are the most common ones. The bifidos are more friendly. The Firmicutes can lead to bad health. Antibiotics have a great deal to play with this because if you're going to use an antibiotic, you're sick, you get an infection. I suggest you sometimes even get a second opinion. Maybe it's not possible, but at least get on the computer, do some reading, unless they have a positive culture or they look in your mouth and say, that's strep throat, which you can do by seeing the exudates. So when it's obvious. But many times antibiotics are given when it's a virus that would not respond to the antibiotic. I'll tell you what the antibiotic does. It kills all the bacteria in the gut. Yeah. And the patient has the worst effects at a month, and sometimes to get a proper biome again, to get back the Bacteroides, for example, the lactobacillus, can take a year. Yeah. By age 18, most children have been on antibiotics 20 times. You know, and I know, probably 3/4 of them were not necessary. You call the doctor, get a temperature, boom, well, here's the antibiotic. I think a positive culture is important, unless it's life-threatening or it's obvious as to what it is. Because our biome has been changed is part of the reason we're seeing these increased rates of overweight and obesity. 50% of our people in this country, especially in Allen County, are pre-diabetic or diabetic. That's got 50 diseases attached to it. Critical situation that we have here. I don't see it being addressed enough because that's one of the focuses that I have. I coach people with type 2 diabetes, for example, at the Three Rivers Pharmacy, phone number 373-1073. Well, I'll see you for free every Friday morning. I see people there, and a lot of them are getting rid of their being overweight or get rid of their diabetes. What's not generally known, that type 2 diabetes with those 50 diseases, you can prevent it, get rid of it, about a month. I have other shows on that every Monday on Access TV at 6:30. I'm going to film one even today after this show. So not to take advantage of that seems to be, a little bit sad to me. And because we can avoid heart attacks and strokes and increased rates of cancer. So to have a proper biome is critical. You are what your biome is. That's who you are. So be a good gut gardener, okay? Okay, that's a garden in there, okay? We have good and bad bacteria. I brought that up. Good ones are bifidos, which I spoke about, and lactobacillus. Bad ones are Clostridia, E. coli, Streptococcus. I can go on and on. But to get and who is living there depends on the type of food you're eating. Mm-hmm. And remember how quickly you can fix it. Bacteria live 20 minutes. The whole gut can be changed generally about a week. Okay, so it's not hard. It's not a year from now or 6 months from now. It's very quickly. The majority of our friends, the bacteria, when they're good guys, our friends, live in the gut, live in the colon. the distal part of our gut, okay? That's where most of the digestion is carried out. But some is carried out in the small intestine too. For example, the stomach secretes pyloric acid, some acids which break down some of the proteins and fats and bacteria or viruses or things, bad bacteria you may have taken in. The stomach will eliminate some of them. Then the small intestine also has some bacteria in it, but not as many. Okay, and the gallbladder, the pancreas, the gut itself will put out some enzymes to destroy them. I mean, the pancreas puts out an enzyme that literally can digest almost anything and turn it into small molecules. The pancreatic enzymes are very aggressive, but they're so regulated that most of the time that there's not a problem. When we have problem in our colon because we're not eating foods with enough fiber, for example. See, fiber is complex sugars that are in vegetables and fruits, for example, which would be called, which in essence is a prebiotic. Eat the right food. Some of it's not digested because it's so full of complex sugars. It hits the colon, and that breaks them down to butyric acid, for example, which supplies the energy to produce new cells in your gut. So it's very important. But if there's problems in the colon, sometimes it'll reflux through the small intestine, the last part, the ileum, reflux into the small bowel. Small bowel is not used to it, and you develop what's called SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So it can change. So what you need is a balance of bacteria. So your gut has a mind of its own, okay? Hippocrates, over a couple thousand years ago, said all disease begins in the gut. He was right. It does. Almost all of it begins in the gut, okay? Most of our feel-good chemicals are made of serotonin. 75% is actually made in the gut. You would think it's in your brain, but serotonin does about 7 different things in the gut itself. You can see why Kachmann calls it, the second brain. So stress eating, which can secrete epinephrine and cortisol, can make you eat a lot more. If you're in a stressful situation, we all know that a cigarette or a drink or a donut is something we grab for to cause our nucleus accumbens, our brain, to secrete some dopamine. I'm in heaven, I feel great. But a lot of that serotonin is actually made in your gut. So stress can make you fat. People are very stressful, and that's part of the reason I think we see so many overweight people today. Partly is a stress eaters, too much going on in life, too complex. Our lives are too complex. You watch some of the news channels, turn them off, turn on the music, take a little exercise, do a little laughter, a little love, give a hug, reduce your stress. I mean, we all got some stress. I wouldn't get out of bed and have some stress, but some people's lives cannot be controlled. Get 3, 4, 5, 6 kids, and a husband may not be bringing home enough money, and maybe they beat each other up a little bit, and life can be very stressful, and bad stress can result in overeating. Grab that donut to feel good, and some can't stop till they ate, the whole box. Okay, so our neurotransmitters, that's a neuro. They are the ones that send the message from the axon of a nerve to the dendrites, and the next nerve they jump across. That's the neurotransmitters who are very active in our gut. Remember, Kachmann said a second brain, and this can reduce in gas and GERD and bloating and diarrhea. Just our thought process, how we think can produce a great deal of messages sent to the gut through nerves, through hormones, through neurotransmitters, through neuropeptides, all messages from the brain to the gut. Candace Pert, PRT, wrote a book called Molecules of Emotion, 1971. when I read that, it changed my life. I really meet the providers. I read that book. But she's actually is describing how our neurotransmitters, hormones, and neuropeptides work in the body. How you think has tremendous effect. Then she discovered our Army, Navy, Air Force, our immunity makes them too, and especially in the gut. So it's brain, gut, gut, brain. The brain's connected to the gut, no doubt about it. But the neurotransmitters, hormones, enzymes made there even more important. So the tremendous effects by your gut on your own immunity. They can, if you eat the wrong foods, you can develop inflammation of the gut. And that inflammation may punch holes into your gut. Yeah. And these holes will then let some of the food go right into the blood system. Your antibodies react, and you develop what are called autoimmune diseases, from multiple sclerosis to seizures, rheumatoid arthritis, acne. All these illnesses are due to what you are eating, okay? Colds, infections, viruses, bacteria. Remember you spoke about the holes in your gut. Gluten, which is the protein, the thing that you knit together that makes bread, from wheat, barley, and rye. Many people are sensitive to it. Some develop celiac disease, where you're literally waist to nothing. You're short in height. Many times misdiagnosed because we're not running routine tests on people. So if you have a neurologic disease, if it's not a tumor, for example, consider a gluten test. MS, ALS, any of these diseases, you just never know. You might have gluten. Someone played pickleball with me recently. She was losing weight all the time, and she's going to have an endoscopy and to see if she is a celiac or gluten sensitivity. Keep this in mind, and we can develop these autoimmune diseases. I have a book here, The Autoimmune Solution by Amy Myers, a good book to read. If you have an undiagnosed or not sure why you have this thing, my banker, for example, a young lady, was telling me about her symptoms, and I said, get a gluten test. And her family doctor sent her to a rheumatologist, and he ordered steroids. Well, he didn't get a gluten test. That was a mistake, because she then developed aseptic necrosis of both her hips, I think it was. That can happen with steroids. And then I saw her, she was gone for 2 months, and I saw her back. I said, what happened? She's telling me this story. And I said, did you now get a gluten test? No, I didn't get a gluten test. I just followed a gluten-free diet. And I'm well, okay. But 2 hip operations later, she had that test to begin with, changed her way of eating. All her joint pains and things probably would have cleared up, okay? Milk is another one. I want you to read a book, Whitewash, by Joe Keon, because I don't want you to just accept my word. And I mean it. Once you read that, you won't be drinking milk. Increased rates of type 1 diabetes. Dr. Colin Campbell, who wrote that book, China Study, he says the protein, the casein in milk, is the most carcinic chemical in the world. Wow. After a lot of research papers in there, rarely meet any provider ever read it. To me, it's a tremendous book. And yeah, Joe Keon, Whitewash. I beg you to read it. That can cause a lot of troubles in your bowel. Part of the reason is the enzyme to degrade milk, the lactose in milk. Asians hardly don't have the enzyme. Blacks, 75% don't have the enzyme. 50% of whites don't have the enzyme. And the nature turns it off at age 4. So if a person my age drinking milk, they're going to have some reaction to the gut. Not all of them, but again, keep an open mind here, okay? I want you to gather some information. And so let's go on. So the benefits of a healthy healthy microbiome. Remember those trillions of bacteria? They can be your friends or your enemies. They determine your health. That's the bottom line. What kind of gut you got? That's the bottom line, okay? And if you develop a good gut, and we'll show you how to do it, you'll have probably, if you're trying to lose weight, it'll be a dramatic weight loss usually. Type 2 diabetes gone 1 or 2 months. I have many books on that. I can show them to you on my diabetic show, which I'll do a little later. I lay them out here. And the reason, you know the reason already why you could get rid of type 2 diabetes in a month or two. Why? Come on, you know why. I told you. The bacteria change in 20 minutes. And the one cell layer of your gut changes in 24 hours. So when you average all out, in about a week, Mark Hyman has in his books too, if you're trying to get rid of your type 2 diabetes, you start eating right, avoid sugar, the hooker and the booger, okay? Odds are your blood sugars could be normal in a week. I've read it anywhere. It's very disappointing to me that we don't have a major national epidemic attack on type 2 diabetes. Why not? Industry involved, lobbying involved, the government supports the price of sugar. Look it up. You give me the answer, okay? And we can avoid 50 chronic diseases by getting rid of type 2 diabetes. So work on improving, and you'll have improved emotions, focus, and energy. You won't be heading for that donut to make yourself feel good, or a cigarette, or that drink of alcohol, for example. It improves your immunity. Your Army, Navy, Air Force that defends you will be improved. Your skin will have a glowing skin, and you look good. An interesting thing is, I've had a number of people whose weight was just out of hand, 300 pounds, for example, who start eating right. So they did start eating right. One truck driver I met over at Planet Fitness saw me a year later. Wait, 350 to 210. He stopped and talked to me, and he just started eating right. What I had told him. 1 half-hour talk, maybe 20-minute talk I gave him. No books to read, nothing. He just started eating right, and he says, I'll tell you something you will remember, though. What I had done is walked him around the truck and determined how many times around for a mile, and he did it twice a day. He was transporting buffalo meat from California to Fort Wayne to New York. Instant enough, I ate at the restaurant next door to Planet Fitness, great restaurant, and I saw him there for lunch, buffalo meat. No surprise. I'd love to see the guy again because, let's face it, he did it, I didn't do it, but I have many other people. And what it is, there's mathematics and Fibonacci numbers inside vegetable, all food that we eat, frankly. So if you're eating many vegetables and fruit, they're beautiful. They're symmetrical. Look at the leaves. That's Fibonacci numbers, 5 leaves, and you always add the last 2 numbers. You'll see it. The number of leaves when you're walking out in nature. That's based on mathematics. So when you eat that type of food, you know what's going to happen? You're going to look like that, and I prove it to you. Look at some of my lectures' websites. I have people there who had a heck of a problem with their self-perception of themselves. Look like movie stars. That truck driver, frankly, could try to get a job in the movies, yes, from a previous picture. And I'm not being critical. Remember, at Planet Fitness has 2, judgment-free zone, but I certainly smell an opportunity here. So it's based on nature. It's real. It wasn't the exercise he was getting. It's a type of food he was eating. So take control of your health, okay? Rudys good news. So watch how you use your fingers. Look at the food. Take a minute, and Rudys Rule 1, look at the food and take a second and see, what am I putting in myself that will affect my biome? And think of how you use your feet. Are you at least taking a walk a day? Exercise is about 10-20% of it. That'll improve your biome too, incidentally, because they get the message. But the main thing is type of food. Did I say diet? No. type of food, because the food is so full of nutrients, phytochemicals, that if you're eating the right food, because the vitamins and the phytochemicals that are in there will turn your appetite off, because they get the message from the biome. Your bacteria say, hey, we've had enough. Sends a message to the brain, to the hypothalamus, turns your appetite off. Yeah. If you read Dr. Furman's book, End of Dieting, End of Diabetes, good friend of mine, he was in town here about a month ago, and he will say to you, no diet, type of food. It's type of food is the thing, no calorie counting. Because if you do calorie counting and starve yourself, then what will happen is your BMR, your basic metabolic rate, will drop. That's the calories you burn in your heart and lungs and brain doing nothing, okay? It'll burn, say, 2,000, 1,500 calories in a day. If you starve yourself, the BMR will drop, and those automatic loss of calories you got from doing nothing will go down. That's the reason when they have the biggest loser, you know, they lose their 50 pounds, about a year later, they weigh a lot more. And that's the reason, because that BMR dropped. They're eating the same calories, but they're not burning the same calories because the BMR dropped, and now their weight is worse than ever. So it's not a matter of starvation. Incidentally, while you think about it, we have one of the best surgeons on gastric bypass surgery, absolutely the best in town here. But I would say to you, you ought to try other things first. And if you just can't do it, okay, you just can't change because you need the food to feel good, okay? There's some people that away. But what are they doing to you? They're stapling off part of your stomach. Average calorie intake for people with this, 1,200 calories. You know how many calories on the average they fed the people in the concentration camps and labor camps in Germany? 1,500. That tell you something? They're starving you. They're starving you. But some people, only way they do it, but you're going to see, they're going to drop their BMR. And someday, years down the line, guess what? They gain weight back. But again, for some people, that's the only thing that works. Best surgeon for us I'm concerned, here in the state of Indiana, is where I'm associate there at Lutheran Hospital. I'm not advertising him, but I know how great that he is, and some people need it. So you can retrain your gut in days, can avoid 90% of chronic disease, and blood sugar can be normal in a week. And so there's such a thing as epigenetics, which I'd like for you to know about. Epi means upon your genes. At the end of our genes, we have what are called telomeres, and they can be changed quite rapidly. When an infant is born, for example, the whole genetic script hasn't been written. No. Only about 5%. What an opportunity by good health habits of the mother, father, even before conception changes their genetic code, will affect the baby. They get bad habits, they drink and they smoke and they don't exercise, and they're overweight, will affect genetic expression of their infant. Yeah, what they're eating while it's in the uterus, the mother, she's smoking, is she drinking, is she smoking marijuana, cigarettes, drinking alcohol, eating the wrong food, will write the genetic script of the infant. Yeah, so I mean, the good news is we can change our genetic expression, but we can especially change our genetic expression by what we're eating. What are you feeding the child? Are you giving the child cow's milk all the time, for example? Proper nutrition is critical. You're writing genetic script of the child. Probably a type 2 diabetic. You give a lot of gluten products, a lot of milk products. You're rewriting the genetic code of the infant. So your bacteria write the genetic code. Remember, there's a lot more DNA there than in your own body, 100 to 1. So the type of food you're eating is critical. And so in your genes, 95% you have an opportunity to change, okay? So that's called plasticity. You can change your genes. That's opportunity. That's opportunity. What I find out now, and I get the books to prove it, and you'll see it in one of my follow-up TV shows, is that most of the dementia we call Alzheimer's disease is due to type 2 diabetes. Yeah. So what you're eating and this genetic expression, yeah. And the reason is with diabetes, the insulin level goes up, okay? The brain lives mainly on sugar. Insulin level's up. There's an enzyme called IDE, insulin degrading enzyme, and it was recently proven, a paper written by a woman from Yale University. What she's saying is IDE has to get rid of the increased insulin in your body that you see in pre-diabetes or diabetes, and there's none IDE left, but the other job for IDE is to get rid of amyloid. Amyloid's the cause of dementia, so-called Alzheimer's disease. Now that smells of great opportunity when we say we're being overtaken with all this dementia. Well, why? Because most people have pre-diabetes and diabetes. That's why. And the dementia can be avoided. I think that's a good enough reason to retrain your biome so that you don't get pre-diabetes, diabetes. Get to a normal weight, close to normal, okay? There are what are called trophies, thin on the outside, but they have fat in the viscera on the inside. So you got to check the blood test, okay? And get a serum insulin to see if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic. Not just the blood sugar, serum insulin would catch you very early. Study the fats in your blood, for example, and to catch it early. So controlled gene expression is the answer. By eating right, many vegetables, fruit, 70-80% of the time, and then some organic meat if you have to, okay? But understand what's in the meat. Beef, for example, has a lot of nitrosamines, insulin growth factors in them. And one of the reasons that milk is not a good thing, because they take the cow, they put it on a page, they get a pesticides, herbicides, growth hormone. So when I was speaking recently, where I take tap dance lesson, Sheena is telling me one girl started, her period started at age 8. Why is that? I can't be 100% sure, but she's a big-time milk drinker. So in milk are, remember, hormones they gave the cow to increase the cow's mammary secretion, okay? So the milk production goes up about 10 times, and they're in a cage. But the child drinking the milk will get the pesticides, the herbicides, the hormones they gave the cow to increase its production. I don't think it's a good idea. So what I'm saying is your second genome, those bacteria, are in charge, okay? So let's repair the gut. Let's repair the gut lining. Reduce inflammation by, I suggest a smoothie a day will keep the doctor away, okay? You can go to Facebook Kachmann and get some recipes, because a good smoothie, I wouldn't go to a coffee shop or fast food place to get a smoothie because they have a lot of sugar in them. And of course, there's going to be some sugar in them if you make a smoothie, but that's fine. I prefer it over juicing. Juicing is a lot more sugar product, and you're not taking in the fiber. Remember we spoke about butyrate, that we want fiber in it. It'll decrease the absorption of calories, but full of vitamins and minerals. It'll reduce your appetite. Smoothie day, I think, is a good thing. So repair the gut integrity. You also want some minerals, zinc and glutamine and things like this. But if you're eating good foods, it's in there. I don't want you to take necessarily a supplement. You know, some vitamin D or B12 if you need it, okay. But the rest have to be detoxified by the liver. I know someone takes 100 supplements, and right now he's having serious neurologic problems. We don't need a lot of supplements. What you need is to choose your food correctly, okay? So, and you can re-inoculate if you're having a serious problem. Re-inoculate with some fermented foods, some what are called probiotics, and a real yogurt is a step, but not 7 days a week, you know, maybe once a week. to get a balanced microbiome, reduces inflammation, which will cause loss of visceral fat. Fat in the body is inflammatory. Usually, if you get a pot belly, most of the fat's not under the skin, it's in the liver, around the organs. That's the dangerous fat. It's a different kind of fat than fat under your skin. You'll have a healthier microbiome. You'll rebalance your immune system and maintain a healthy weight without, eat all you want, but it's the right food, okay? And some probiotics are fermented foods, sauerkraut, kimchi, fermented vegetables, yogurt, kefir. There are other examples. They have actual live bacteria in them. And if you take them in food, then the trillions in there. And if you take them as a pill, maybe only in the billions. So to eat the fermented food is very important. And this will increase your acidophilus, the bifidobacteria, your lactobacillus, the good bacteria you want in your gut. You're rebuilding your gut. But I also would say, if you just eat right from the foods that I mentioned, you don't have to diet. You will rebuild those bacteria pretty quickly. But if you get issues, irritable bowel syndrome, things where things have been advanced, I think I learned about prebiotics and probiotics a little bit to gain some more knowledge. That's well discussed in these books I have here. So reestablish your balance. So you want a correct ratio of good fats, that's omega-3 fats. Our body, every cell has some fat actually in the membrane of the cell. Yeah, and because nature designed it as such. The energy of the universe coming from the sun through photosynthesis will make sugars, but also make some omega-3 fats, because we need some for a healthy life. They run the internet of your body. Before we had heart and lungs for the circulation, living things existed on the internet, the communication, the iconocytes between our cells. And they had the omega-3 and some omega-6 fats in the membrane. So seeds and butters, flax seeds, some olive oil is a good fat, but not a whole bunch of olive oil because it's 100% fat. If you're trying to lose weight and you use a lot of olive oil, you're going to gain weight. I went to a restaurant the other day, and man, everything was in butter and olive oil. Well, I was eating healthy food, some shrimp and crab legs, but everything was bathed in fat. That's not necessarily a good idea, but a little bit is fine, okay? But to cook generally an olive oil, I suggest you use water or almond milk or something if you need something. So, now our gut is made from villi. I want to tell you about this a little bit, okay? And the reason that the villi here are close together, that increases your absorptive surface of the gut, which generally is the size of a tennis court, to increase the absorbability and surface area available for this interchange, okay? Now, if you're eating bad food, gluten, for example, milk products, some of the food that you're eating, say in the gut here, will make holes between these villi here and allow some of this food in, and your antibodies, your Army, Navy, Air Force, attacks them and can cause autoimmune diseases. So holes in the gut you want to avoid. On top of these villi, remember they're like this to increase the absorptive surface, are little hairs called microvilli, and they move things along the gut. It's everything in the gut should go in one direction. Otherwise, you're going to have a problem. So you want tight junctions. Sometimes they have to look in there with a scope and look at it, and look at your junctions, like the gold standard for gluten, for example, to see if you get irritable bowel, is an endoscopy to look at it. But they have developed now companies, though, that you can send them the stool, and 2 weeks later you come back with a report. But again, the gold standard is do endoscopy, but you wonder, one is a lot better than the other. I think it's kind of hard to say. So to get good fatty acids in there is important because, and remember I said the bowel is repaired with butyrate. That's the energy of your epithelium. So butyrate is very important, and butyrate is an enzyme derived from the fiber in the vegetables you're eating in the colon. So that'll come back and repair the villi. And I said fish oil is okay, but again, you got to be concerned a little about the calorie. So reestablish a balance, and we mentioned that already. Stress belly we've discussed a little bit. Stress undermines your digestive system and your weight because you increase rate of eating bad food. It changes the chemicals in your gut. Acids are mainly made in the stomach. They're good and they're bad, but they'll kill bad bacteria. They'll break down some of the food, especially proteins. So if we have the wrong biome, we're more likely to gain weight, increase inflammation, increase steroids in themselves, social stress, feel quick fix. You're stressed out, say family matters, quick fix is sugar, the booger, and the hooker, okay? And our addictions, cigarettes, alcohol, marijuana, they affect our biome too, and very quickly. But the biome does communicate with your brain. It'll turn the appetite off or appetite on. The ghrelin in the stomach is a hormone, turns appetite on. The leptin in your brain turns the appetite off. The NPYY enzyme in your belly turns appetite off. It communicates with the hypothalamus in your brain. So there is communication between your brain and your biome, no doubt about it. Let's speak a minute about mindful eating, okay? I say no alcohol, but if you drink a glass of wine now and then, don't start drinking because I said so. Probably is healthy. And watch what's on how you're using your fingers, what's in your hand. Look at it, Rudys Rule. What are you putting down there? What am I giving my friends? Okay? And visualize the goal. I think look in the mirror every day to give you an idea. This is what I like to look at 6 months from now. I think that's important. Weigh yourself every day. I do. And just in case, some restaurants, seem to gain 2 pounds every time I eat there. Why is that? The salt, I think. 2 days later, it's gone. So you get to, and we're eating out twice a day is deadly, and it's a real problem. I know probably half a dozen multimillionaires running very successful companies in town, and I'll be darned, every down one of them I think is a diabetic, and they've got serious symptoms from limping to not seeing right to I can go through it all, and I'm not convinced they're willing to change all the information that's been put out to them because I gave it to them. But maybe they haven't something done I don't know about, but they don't seem to look any different. And am I being critical? No. These are the guys that are running our city. We need them. And we could get rid of their type 2 diabetes, which I think all 6 of them got, in a month, in a few weeks. Why don't they act? I don't know. A lot of the public acts the same way. They're blind, denial, or delusion. If you don't eat right, you will probably live 25 years less. In about 30 of those years, you'll have some form of disability. And the people I'm speaking about, some are dragging their feet. Yeah, it's already there. What do you think's going to be down the line? Amputations, dislocations. Am I being critical? No, I'm being informational. I'm being information. I coach people for free at the Three Rivers Pharmacy every Friday morning. Come see me. No charge. I will educate you. And avoid the bad desserts. Believe me, if I've had a stressful day and there's a donut laying there, I'll be eating it. So it's not about a weak mind. It's to keep stress away. Okay, you find some other way. Maybe lately I've been eating a pear. And that seems to satisfy me and calm, and and go right to sleep. We all have these problems, so have some snacks in your mind that are healthy. Chew slowly. That's a big one. Chew slowly. Some amylase is secreted here. Breaks down the carbs a little bit, not very much. For example, give it time, talk. Come to a dinner and a meeting and family, give a hug, talk a little, tell a story. Eat a good salad. Maybe start with a salad, but don't pour a bunch of oil on it. Now it's 800 calories. Vinaigrette, or maybe nothing. Real good vegetables, you frankly don't need anything. Why did the French paradox, how did they manage to stay fairly healthy? They ate small portions, for example, is what they did. I remember the cheese trays I saw in Paris. Oh, my living God, how could anybody visually looking at it survive that? But they ate a lot of things, but just a small amount. They talked a lot. But believe me, they're changing too. Go to France these days. Go in the world these days. Type 2 diabetes and its 50 diseases is a world epidemic. Our government should really emphasize that. They don't. I do. Yeah. So let the food evoke your senses, the smells, the taste, the sound. Talk about the taste. Give it time. Chew it a few times, back of the mouth, and you will get the taste. And your aroma, you pick up the aroma if you're chewing back of your mouth. So there's a skill to eating. A lot of us pay no attention. We shove it in, pay no attention to the flavor or the smells of the beautiful food. So, it starts, frankly, with the brain, the vision. We're looking at it. If they bring the desserts first, don't look at it. Okay, I can't resist it. Okay, I'll have that key lime pie. No. But like I said, if you eat now twice a day, 3 times a day, you're dead. You get Dr. Furman, my friend who wrote the book, End of Diabetes, End of Illness, tremendous guy. When he has meetings, he brings along a bag of his own food. I mean, you got to be careful about that, because we were in a mountain town, Lake Como in Italy, at a conference, and at least order the food and then bring it out, because I got to make some money too, okay? And but he was starting the salad he brought with him before he ordered anything. I still have to laugh about that. I got mad about it, so did his wife. You can't do that. But so the power of positive chewing, there's an art to it. That'll start your relaxing hormones, the parasympathetic system. It'll relax you. There'll be some blood flow to your gut, and then digestion usually is fairly slow. It takes the stomach a few hours, and the small intestine even longer for food to make its way all the way through. And remember, the colon is about eating things with fibers, so you get out that butyrate. That supplies the energy for the epithelium in the gut to replace itself, and it comes from the fiber in your food. Also, vitamin B, vitamin K are made in the colon. So it's a good story in the gut. And do's and don'ts of stress eating. We'll be through here in a minute. It looks like I'm going to make it. Do's and don'ts of stress eating. Don't eat at work. If you do, bring your own stuff, because eating at work can be deadly. Eating good all day, and then you eat. You go out for lunch and you eat anything you want to. Avoid this. So if you need to eat at lunch, bring some good food with you. Some of my fellow employees have. I remember 2 typists. All the time that I ever worked, would always walk during lunch. They walked the whole hospital. Both look like movie stars. Yeah. They did it all the time. And recently, I saw one of the officers at the hospital who didn't look too healthy. I saw him walking all the staircases, everything, who I'd handed a book 2 years ago. I'm not sure he was doing that, but he was doing that, calling everybody their first name. I thought, boy, this is really great. So again, also what you eat affects, like thyroid hormone, for example, what you're eating. An unbalanced biome can be because of anxiety, depression. We're eating stuff to raise our serotonin level, bad sugary foods to feel good. And I got show you signs of misbehaving, bloating, constipation, Crohn's disease, where you inflame the gut, especially the colon, diarrhea, gas, irritable bowel, ulcerative colitis, all related to your biome. And many can, they give them antibiotics, for example, which many times don't work because it's killing all the bacteria in your gut. So you think antibiotics are the answer to this? In some cases they are. But you ought to try with prebiotics, probiotics, prebiotics meaning good food. Okay, probiotics eats some of the fermented foods. For example, I would discourage from using the pill. These books don't particularly recommend it. And we have immune issues if we eat wrong. Rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, lupus, because of decreased food immune function. I myself, as a child in New York, I remember my dad had a deli, which not too good of food. I had acne all the time, on the lips, here and there. My heck of a time getting a date, no less having a girl give me a kiss. Okay, it was due to milk. I didn't know it. I know it now. And so keep these things in mind. Your biome, you are your biome. That's who you are. That's the bottom line. Let me quickly go with some books here. You might want to read The Microbiome Diet by Raphael Kachmann. Is an excellent book. That's an excellent book. Okay. The Autoimmune Solution I mentioned already. Here's one by Rabin Chutkin, The Microbiome Solution. All books that I've read multiple times. Here's another great book. And then, as I mentioned earlier, The Second Brain, Gershon, tremendous, honest researcher, and put some humor and stories into it. You'll love to read this. You'll love to read this. So, in summary, I want to thank you for watching. That I don't want you to follow a diet. I want you to eat the right food. Okay? Sure, I want you to exercise a little. Maybe take a walk. Or maybe take a tap dancing like I do. Okay? Been doing it for 2 years. Just love it. Music, relaxing. Okay? For example, and it's exercise, but really it's eating mainly vegetables, fruit. That'll will cause you to have an excellent biome. If you have advanced bowel disease, you might need to see a GI specialist. But will they teach you wellness or hand you pills? And you got to gain information. Read about it. Read these books and have a frank conversation. You can't just say, "Here's your pill." And that's not good enough to me. It was a life-saving antibiotic, fine. But you got to know, what do my culture shows? Do I have time to get a positive culture before you take antibiotics? If you're taking antibiotics all the time, it will destroy your bacteria in there. And for you to be healthy, I think will be a miracle. This is a complex subject. You must participate in your health care here. Do some reading, look online, ask questions. Maybe have a relative come with a yellow pad and a pencil. I used to love it in my practice when I see a patient and they had a daughter or a son or a relative, brother or sister come in with a yellow pad and write things down, which I said. Absolutely loved it because it's not easy. You can't, providers a lot of times don't have the time. It's just, here's your pill, see you in a year. Well, if you get serious problem with your gut, that just is not going to do it. But do some reading is helpful, and you can change your habits and you can avoid a lot of cancers. 50% of cancers, 70% of cancers are related to what you're eating. We'll have a show on that soon. I'm speaking on that in Warsaw, where I go once a month now. It's posted online, Facebook. You can follow me there. And you can pick up a lot of DVDs there too. God, maybe 1,000 on health, hour-long, all done at this wonderful place, the Public Library, Allen County. I mean, this is God's place here as far as I'm concerned. And look at these DVDs, teach you about health. So some reading, some DVD, some of these shows on the radio, about 95.7. So I'm trying to educate you. You feel like I like to talk to them in person? Call Sheila Walker, 373-1073, I think it is. And I'll see you there for free. Can it get better than that? Thanks for watching. And if you see me in person, give me a hug. Should I read this, doctor? Is this okay to eat? I give a lecture at Lutheran Hospital every month for free. The schedule is also coming Tuesday. I'm giving a lecture on the same subject here, actually. Meet me in person about it. Thanks so much for watching. We love you. Namaste. Look at our radio and TV shows and join us in this adventure to great health. Remember, I'm 39 for the 42nd time on 0 pills. Is that because I was born that way? No. My dad had a deli. I just somehow got the information eventually, and thank God I was able to change the way I ate and exercise habits, etc. We love you. Bye-bye.